You're in for a real treat today because I'm getting ready to introduce Rebecca Klein, who is the founder of Cheetah Conservation Botswana. From an early age, Rebecca already knew she was going to work in some capacity with endangered species. She was already inspired as a young girl to be involved in conservation. So after finishing her degree in wildlife biology, she had an opportunity also to work in a country that she had developed a deep affinity for, and that was Botswana. And while working in a reserve there, she encountered two brother cheetahs, and in the efforts to rehabilitate these cheetahs, Rebecca realized that there wasn't much in the way in Botswana to conserve cheetahs. So she has worked for the last 10 years tirelessly, developed a conservation program for the cheetah, partnered with local communities to build a sustaining future for cheetahs, carnivores, and the Kalahari region. And this year marks her 10th anniversary with her organization. So welcome Rebecca Klein and help her celebrate this anniversary.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Gay. And thank you so much to all of you for coming here to hear about cheetah conservation in Botswana. As you may know, cheetahs are one of the most endangered large carnivores in Africa today. Throughout their range, they live together with livestock farming communities who often perceive them as a threat to their livestock and their livelihoods. And retaliatory killings due to this have really already endangered populations. So we're working really hard with a fantastic team at Cheetah Conservation Botswana to try to secure a brighter future for cheetahs and Kalahari communities. And I hope you'll all listen throughout the presentation and think about how you might be able to get involved in conserving these fantastic, beautiful, elegant cats into the future. So in 1900s, we estimate there was about 100,000 cheetahs throughout a very extensive range throughout Africa and into Asia. And due to habitat loss, declining prey populations, and increasing human-wildlife conflict, their range has decreased in size to those red areas today. And it's been a 90% reduction in numbers, from 100,000 to just 10,000 cheetahs left in the wild today. So it really is a huge decrease in numbers, and we obviously have to take action to make sure that these remaining populations are conserved into the future. Now, Botswana is a very important country for cheetah conservation. We have some fantastic conservation credentials. There's a stable government, we have a very low human population density, and the government's very interested in conserving the wildlife resource. One of the main income generators for Botswana is actually wildlife, so that they know that the cheetahs are important and they know they need to conserve them for the future. But there's a lot of challenges. Throughout this fantastic Kalahari region, where most of the cheetahs are found today, since the 1970s, there's been a huge expansion in livestock farming communities. In the past, in historical times, people only used to utilize these areas as temporary pasture lands in the rainy season, when this land is very productive and the grass grows high and there's so much for the livestock and for the wildlife to eat. But due to deep borehole technology, they're now able to bring up underground water, and now there's permanent settlements throughout the Kalahari. So, and these Kalahari areas outside the protected areas are incredibly key environments for all wildlife species. You know, we have great protected areas in Botswana, But the way the landscape is in Botswana, a semi-arid ecosystem, the health of the wildlife populations rely on a lot of movement being able to happen. You know, the wildlife herds, they move throughout this vast area, often according to where the rainfall is in the rainy season and which areas of the landscape are most productive. So we can't really rely on simply protected areas to conserve adequate populations. And particularly for cheetahs, they're a very wide-ranging, low-density animal. They move over huge areas. We often find that some of the cheetahs have home ranges of about 1,000 square miles. So they really do need huge areas to survive. So they're a fantastic flagship species for Kalahari conservation. Needing such huge areas, if we can conserve adequate populations of cheetahs, we know that all of the species of which the cheetahs are dependent on will also be conserved. So they're a fantastic keystone in order to conserve the Kalahari, particularly outside protected areas. And they're a beautiful, inspiring, amazing animal. You know, one of the most charismatic cats in the world, and they can really inspire hearts and minds across the world to sort of take action for conservation. Beautiful cubs. This was one of the first cubs I ever met in the wild. It really struck me of how vulnerable they are. This was not in a protected area. All around where this young cub was living with his family were livestock farming areas and cattle posts. And I realized that he really needs help if we're going to secure a future for these animals, you know. And I was really inspired by meeting this young cheetah on the road one day to continue in the mission to conserve cheetahs. The young cheetahs will live together with their mothers for about 2 years, learning all of the essential skills they need to live in this very complex environment. They need to know what to eat. They need to know what to avoid. You know, they exist in low densities in areas where there's stronger predators often. You know, there's a lot of learning that needs to be passed on. Then the young siblings will go off into a sibling group, and then the females will go off to be independent until they have cubs, and then the brothers will stay together for life, such as in this male coalition. And that gives them the ability to keep a territory and also to sort of hunt larger prey. So there's a lot of survival adaptation in this, of developing this social behavior. And I was very lucky to be able to have the honor to work with these incredible species. I had always loved wildlife, as Gay said, and I wanted to go to Africa to work, so I became a wildlife biologist. I went to work in southern Botswana, and here I met two cheetah brothers, Duma and Leshotsi, and I thought, these animals are fantastic. I fell in love with them, and they loved me. I loved them because they were beautiful. They loved me because I fed them. And I thought, let me try and get involved and see what's happening for cheetah conservation across Botswana, and I was surprised to find that there was nothing going on. The world's fastest land animal and one of the most threatened large cats was often seen as nothing more than a threat to livestock, and people were hunting them, trapping them, and running them down and removing them from the environment. So yeah, we knew that we had to work hard to ensure that they were conserved. So we set up a multifaceted conservation project, research, community outreach, and education, and went ahead, and that was 10 years ago. Our research program is to understand better the movements, the spatial requirements of cheetahs and the threats to their populations. So we do that by several methods. One is through spoor tracking. So we drive along transects on these wonderfully sandy roads. Every time a cheetah moves along these roads or crosses the roads, there's an imprint that they've been there. So we're able to utilize that information to understand the densities and numbers of cheetahs in different areas of Botswana. And we partner with these incredible Kalahari San. Many people know them as the Bushmen. They have a wonderful ability to look at the landscape and to know what's happened through their tracking abilities. So we're very happy to be able to provide an outlet for these fantastic skills that the Kalahari San have. We also utilize satellite collars so that we can understand more about the spatial requirements and movements of the cheetahs, particularly in farmland areas. Many farmers think that, you know, this cheetah's just living on my land, and killing my livestock. And through putting the collars on, we're able to show that a lot of the cheetahs have very large home ranges. They're spending a very little amount of time on each individual farm. So if you can utilize good livestock management protection methods, you're not going to have a problem with cheetahs moving through your land. So it gives us a wonderful insight into what the farmland cheetahs are doing. We also have partnered with National Geographic with Crittercam collars. And they actually have a video fitted on the collar that stays on for about 3 days. And it gives us a fantastic insight into the behaviors of farmland cheetahs. You know, we don't have the ability to watch these cheetahs for hours on end. They're in conflict with human populations. They don't want to be seen. So many times we only see the tracks and we only see the signs and clues that they've been around. So by putting these videos on, we're able to have a real insight into the private lives of cheetahs, which is really, really very exciting for us. We also use camera traps, a very powerful tool to assess wildlife populations that are hard to see. We put these up on ranch land areas, and it gives us a wonderful insight into what is happening with the cheetah populations. We also put them on farms with farmers who are having conflicts so that we can better understand what's actually going on. One of the farmers who always used to remove cheetahs, first by killing them, then by giving them to us to relocate, carried on having cheetah problems. We persuaded him, let's put camera traps up on your farm and see what's actually happening. And we were able to show that this dominant male had started to reside on his land, and he was actually keeping the younger males away from that area. And over time, his losses actually decreased. So he was better off not removing all these animals and creating all this movement in the system. We also need to know what cheetahs are eating on the farmland areas. Many farmers think that there are huge livestock losses are attributed to cheetahs. But in fact, we've been able to show that only 5% of cheetah diet is made up of livestock. In areas where you drive through and all you see are goats and sheep and cows, very few of those are actually being eaten by cheetahs. So it's been giving us a really excellent insight into those wildlife cheetah populations. So community outreach is a really important part of what we do. We disseminate all of that information from our research program to the farming community so they can better understand the animals that they're living with. This is our community outreach coordinator, Murulhanya Kokole. He's here today. He's in the audience somewhere, and I really invite you after the presentation to please come and hear more about the work that he does to inspire the community and to provide information and tools to help farmers better live together with cheetah and other carnivore populations. So this community outreach team works tirelessly. They travel huge distances and they camp out in the communities for most of the year, and they go directly to do site visits to farmers to help them to live together with carnivores. They give information on identifying different predators, different predator behaviors, so people can know more what to expect from the animals with which they're sharing the land. And they give out a range of information on the effective tools that you can utilize to coexist with carnivores. What are the effective kraal enclosure designs? How do you train livestock guarding dogs to protect your animals? What are the ideal herding strategies? You know, what are the benefits of having breeding seasons, etc.? All these methods are proven to reduce conflict with carnivores, and these guys work incredibly hard to disseminate this information throughout the year. They also go directly into settlements to have mobile workshops where they'll give out that information to the whole community, which is a very effective tool. We get a lot of calls to come into communities and provide this information. People are very receptive of these useful tools, which is really fantastic. We also have residential workshops at our center in the Western Kalahari. We have a small education center where we bring the farmers for a 3-day training course, and we're able to demonstrate all those different methods. You know, we have different types of kraals. We have livestock guarding dogs, who have breeding seasons and herding. We have our fantastic herd manager. All of these guys take up a component of the training and have an on-site demonstration of all of those techniques. So a really effective way to train the farmers on-site. And here's our livestock guarding dogs and our livestock herd. We live in cheetah, leopard, wild dog, lion country. We don't have any losses due to our good management techniques. We also train puppies at our livestock guarding dog demonstration area. The puppies come from the communities, but they also come from shelters throughout the country. So unwanted puppies are finding a new life as livestock guarding dogs. And we then place the puppies. Once they've had all their vaccinations, their training, and they are sterilized as well, we place the puppies out with community members. We encourage the community to select the people that are having the most losses as the recipients for the dogs. We place the puppy and we train the family on how to care for the dog, and then we monitor the dog over time. So every month we actually visit and we see how that livestock guarding dog is doing. And we've had some fantastic success stories. People sometimes can't believe how effective, what an effective tool these dogs really are. And you know, even as young dogs, they're going out with the herd and bonding really, really effectively. We promote the use of Swanna Dogs. This is a local dog, and these are the kind of dogs which we have freely available in Botswana. So they go in with puppies, and then they grow up with the livestock and stay with them for life. So all of the recipients become part of our livestock guarding dog network, and we have a workshop for them every year, and we have a regular support program for them. So anytime they're having problems, maybe the dog's not staying with the livestock, etc., for some reason, they can call us, and we'll let them know how they can remedy the situation. And we like the members of the Livestock Guarding Dog Network to be the actual sort of the promoters of this fantastic tool. This farmer is one of the farmers that Kokole has been working with. Initially, he didn't really want to try a new technique. He thought it would be extra work, but he was having a lot of losses to carnivores, so he tried out having a livestock guarding dog. He's got a great dog that's very, very effective, and now he's educated all of his neighbors, and they've also placed livestock guarding dogs. So useful tools that are low cost and effective. You know, the farmers will share that information with each other, and so, you know, we provide those tools, and we often provide a forum for those farmers to get together and share their successes. And also with members of the network, we provide them with free veterinary care once a year, so vaccinations, sterilizations, etc. And we're testing all of these conflict mitigation methods, the livestock guarding dogs and also the kraals. So kraals and livestock guarding dogs and herding strategies we're monitoring at the moment in these different locations throughout Botswana. Yeah, so this year over the last 2 years, we've placed 45 livestock guarding dogs and built 30 kraals. And we're monitoring that along with the Department of Wildlife and National Parks, and we're hoping that if we can really show that these methods are successful, that they'll be integrated into wildlife and agricultural policy. And so farmers will have to demonstrate that they're using effective methods in order to qualify for government benefits and compensation programs, etc. So we're very excited about that opportunity. And of course, educating the youth of the nation is an essential part of all conservation programs. You know, we need to engender a feeling of national pride in these incredible animals. So we work with the schools throughout Botswana. We give school visits and school presentations and talk about different carnivore species and about different sustainable methods of livestock management. We go into the classrooms. They may be a classroom environment, or they may be out in the bush under a tree, that can be very, very effective to raise awareness. One little girl went home and told her father, and he came up and he was a bit upset with me because the little girl came home and she was like, "Daddy, you have to stop killing cheetahs, and you have to put a livestock guarding dog in with our livestock." And he thought, well, this is difficult. I've always been removing cheetahs. But anyway, then he came to us and said, look, my daughter's encouraging me to improve my management, so let me know what to do. So the children really can make a big difference to the parents as well. And we invite those children to our bush camp, where they come for an experiential learning out in the environment, where we teach all kinds of environmental skills. One thing we have is a swimming pool, so we've become one of the sort of popular places to come and do outward bound trips in Botswana. Many of these children never ever get the opportunity to swim. So, and we've started to help schools to set up environmental clubs and gardens as well, with tree planting and environmental club activities. And we do an art competition once a year as well to raise awareness and sort of promote art and conservation. And we go all around the country, public awareness raising. We have stalls at cattle auctions, at different agricultural events to try and raise awareness as far as we can. We go on the radio, we go on the television to try and promote these techniques. Last year we won the best non-governmental organization for information dissemination, so we were very excited about that. And lastly, through working with all of these communities, we have some really heartwarming stories. People used to remove cheetahs, they used to kill cheetahs, they used to sell cheetahs, they still do this. But through all of this awareness-raising community work, people are now starting to give back. So these 2 cheetahs were brought to us by farmers. They killed the mother, they decided to save the cubs, they brought them to us, and we were able to release them back into the wild. In the past, they probably would have sold those cheetahs to illegal traders. This was a cheetah that we saved from poachers through the community telling us where the poachers were and working with the wildlife department to go and collect the cheetah, prosecute the poachers, and release him back into the wild. And just a few weeks ago, we were called by some community members when this cheetah was caught in a snare. So we're able to go and remove her from the snare, and she's now staying with us. And she soon, actually tomorrow, next Sunday, she'll have a collar on and she'll be released back into the wild as well. So it's really wonderful for us to have that positive feedback from the community. I just want to say a big thank you to all of our supporters, who are too many to name here, and to all of you as well. I mean, it really is a team effort to conserve wildlife populations, and all of us here at WCN need all of you. We need your support in so many different ways, and we need your encouragement to keep us going out in the field and make sure that there's a secure future for cheetahs, carnivores, and Kalahari communities. So thank you so very much.